It's just...
What's up, world? Welcome to the Weirdness. My name is Brian Target. Here's my best friend, co-host Rob Biddle.
Hey, how's it going?
So what were we just talking about?
Facebook, a lot of social media, and how it seems to be that they're manipulating, I guess, likes to a certain person's advantage. I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what you said.
Something about Facebook controlling, like if somebody likes your post and like people have been liking your pictures, they'll like back up the time, like they'll like slow down the timing a little bit on it so that like it kind of like
builds
keeps
interest.
You checking, or like keeps you checking back, like keep checking the picture back and back, or like the post back and back and back, and it's kind of like super manipulating in a weird way.
Yeah, does someone get money from if they're trying to attract a certain post? I guess is that.
Well, yeah, because that kind of drives ad revenue. The more you're like going on the Facebook and logging in and checking in,
perhaps the
like
ad before it or something, or
just the ads that you are seeing in the moment when you log on or you check stuff, it like pops up on the side.
Yeah. So I guess they're doing that for. I guess is that a revenue thing, or are they doing
I
something
feel
with
like
this
anything that where it comes from, like manipulating, like a company manipulating anything like that or something like that, it's got to be focused down to some point where it's making them money, where it's like they're doing it something for revenue.
Yeah. Or they're doing something to.
Which is crazy because think about how much money they make, and they just gotta nickel and dime you that much. They gotta brainwash you.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I think leading up to that, we were talking about how I was hearing that loneliness is a bigger health scare than obesity in America, and how social media probably really affects that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it seems like a lot of before, and I mean, I feel like there's some kind of documentary on this or something, but I feel like before the internet, and almost I don't know because I mean I haven't lived. I don't remember too much before the internet. I mean, I remember being a kid and everything, but I wasn't kind of living, living as a person. In high
school when MySpace came out.
Yeah, like before, like I never got to experience what it was like to be a part of. I guess I guess as an adult, without any kind of like smartphone by your side or any kind of just having a going to work every day or having to use a telephone at home to call someone.
That's weird.
To be as an adult, how would that?
I remember being a kid when it was like the only phone in the house was in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then, like when I was a little older, we had like the wireless phones came out and they were like the biggest deal.
Yeah.
Like the wireless phones.
It was like I feel like around the mid '90s, late '90s, that started to kind of like get a little bit more.
Yeah, where you could like talk to people in your own room.
Yeah. Well, there was one point I think where we were, I think it was like a family vacation going to the Poconos or something like that, and I think it was like the first year we had a cell phone. I was like 6 or something like that, and and that it kind of caused this anxiety a little bit because I remember my mom wanted to go to the mall or something, and she wanted to go alone or whatever, So I remember she left her phone behind or something, and I felt like this anxiety of like, oh, now she doesn't have the contact, she can't contact us or whatever if something happens. But like I feel like that wouldn't have happened if that phone wasn't there. I feel like it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't even have been an option. So there wouldn't have been any kind of worry.
I mean, like imagine like the days of like when you wanted to like get in contact with somebody, you had to go find a payphone.
Yeah.
For so long.
Yeah.
And everybody was okay with that.
Yeah.
Like people weren't so desperately connected.
Yeah, because
all the time. Like, and I wonder if that feeds into like a lot of like relationship problems or like human friend problems. Is like before, like when you like only had a payphone or something, you would like see that person and then you'd go away, and you have all that time in between.
Like you would
they didn't know what was going on in your life, and you didn't know what was going on in their life, and then you get home or you go back to their house and you talk about it.
Yeah.
You have so much more to talk about. Like now we're like so connected to like most people know
exactly
what all their friends are doing all day long.
Finer details, because back then you probably wouldn't go to a payphone and say, "Oh, hey, what did you eat for lunch?" Or what are you up to? Or did you watch anything on TV? They would probably want to get to the point, like, "Hey, do you want to? Where are you at tonight?" Or there's something going on. Where am I meeting you? Which is important information.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's just people want to skip over that and just kind of go into the finer details, like, what are you doing, what time, what did you do before that, or,
tell me about
and
then you get home and there's nothing to talk about with that, or you go to your friend's house and it's like not that much interesting conversation because like you knew they got up, they went to work, they had lunch at Chick-fil-A, they went back to work, something happened, they had to fix it, someone got yelled at, blah, 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 blah. And then by the time you meet them, they're like, I know about your whole day. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? What do you want to do? What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do?
And then it seems like time's a little bit shorter, too.
Yeah.
And when that happens, when you're constantly involved in some time, seems like pressure.
It almost makes those times when you're with those people not as genuine as it could be sometimes.
Or like nowadays, like if you're like, oh, I'll be over in like 10 minutes or something like that, and before then it would be like, oh, I'll be over sometime tonight, or like it didn't seem like the time was as stressed. I feel like it's kind of we make ourselves more stressed or something in our own.
Because you're constantly keeping up with people.
Yeah,
I feel like you're constantly maybe comparing, or you're constantly just like evaluating what they're thinking. Like trying to evaluate through someone through text messages is almost impossible.
Yeah,
like it's insane.
You can go
and I feel like that messes with your head, because you could be talking to somebody, your friend or your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, the whole day, and just because of the way they're texting, maybe they're in a rush most of the day and they're just giving you one words and this and that. You think they're pissed off at you the whole day.
Yeah, and it's
like because you just don't know how to read. Some people gotta spend their emojis and their smileys and their winkies and like to make sure people just fucking know that they're
they're happy, in a good mood or everything's good.
Yeah.
But wow,
that's good. What do you think about the loneliness thing being like a scarier health scare than obesity? That's kind of insane. I remember hearing somewhere where a kid like didn't go to school for like a whole week because he was trying to take the perfect selfie like in his room. He wouldn't come out of his room, and he took like 3,000 some pictures.
Wow.
Trying to find the perfect selfie, doing his hair right, doing his like putting the makeup on or whatever he was doing, making sure his shirt was fresh, and like just like clicking and clicking and clicking and clicking.
In a way, is
just like so concealed away from
the
world. Like it's like,
in a way, it's like I find it as a health risk, I guess, as a mental health risk, just because at sometimes you need some kind of live interaction with people in order to kind of
I feel like
place
daily,
yourself.
even not daily, just like throughout the week, you need to have that.
Yeah,
like
it puts you in perspective with others,
out in the sun, around people, feeling other people's vibes, and
Well, what was I saying about the? I think we were. What was I saying about the? What topic were we on?
The loneliness thing.
With the loneliness thing. I think it might go hand in hand with social media, perhaps.
Yeah, like it gives you a false sense of socialness.
Yeah.
Like you think connecting with people and having like 3,000 friends on Facebook and only like one friend in real life is like gives you that high. Yeah. Like you get that like boost of like whatever it is inside of you that just tingles you up, and then like that goes away 5-6 minutes later. You got to get someone to like your shit. Yeah, that goes by. You got to follow someone new, hoping they're following back, checking back. Are they following me? Are they following me? Like just all that. Yeah, and that's what you fill up your day with. You feel like in a moment you're getting that social. Yeah. I feel like that's I think this is what I was going to say was a social risk as well, because if this is a huge pattern, there's a huge chunk of people doing this with in more than kind of one generation. Imagine if the culture eventually got to the point where they never went outside. Yeah, I know you think about that often.
Well, yeah, because then that's that kind of leaves your population in certain kind of weird gaps. There's not,
and the higher power will definitely fucking control that.
Yeah.
They could and they would.
Because then that can, almost in a way, controls your population as well.
You just, you're in this
one
room,
way.
and, basically whatever's pumping in that information, that's the only information you receive.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's intense.
I feel like it's kind of coming to that. I feel like it could come to that.
Yeah, because if we have, generations upon generations, or perhaps it gets somewhat, a more of a progressive growth in this over the years, then if that's all we pay attention to, it's kind of why wouldn't we, if we're always in tune, how do we know what to not be in tune with that is?
Yeah,
if it becomes like a regulatory thing.
I mean, think about it. Just the fact, it's happened. I think these things happen slowly.
Yeah.
Most people don't even go out to the movies anymore. They're just I'll Netflix. Stay in my house, and no. I love all the Netflix stuff that comes out and the Hulu, and I think that's great. And I think that most movies and stuff, Netflix is making their own movies, that's awesome. Yeah. But I feel like our culture's so in with the new, out with the old.
Yeah.
And it's that's one more thing to keep people inside.
Yeah.
Not they're trying to make that happen. It's just our culture's in with the new, out with the old. And it just happens to be that we consume most of our entertainment inside the house. As only 20 years ago,
we're just working for consumption.
Yeah, really. Most 20 years ago, people went out for their entertainment.
Yeah,
it seems like it's a lot on the inwards now.
Yeah, it's a little bit. We're like you said, we're focused on those. The phones, the ease of the access of, the internet on your phone is the same as your TV now. You can it's all somewhat this big animal, this big...
And you can just keep up with everything. Keep up with your friends, keep up with your family, keep up with the work.
Yeah.
Most people work at home now off the internet and apps and stuff that they make at home and crap, and it's just eventually that's what everything's going to become.
Well, yeah, and I feel like that is somewhat of a loneliness concern, because it seems like people are wanting to become somewhat disconnected, as a physical person, and kind of be lonely within themselves, and more of with a lack of kind of real and physical connection. It's all this kind of through screen connection, and
that's deep.
Yeah, that's we want to be lonely for some reason. Everyone's really addicted to just like you said, not going to the movies, just staying inside, or not going to a concert. You can watch the same concert on your TV, or sit inside, play video games, or something like that.
Now you can do it live. All that shit's
everyone's
live.
all connected within your own home, so there's just lack of
the
physical
home is
connection.
Becoming more of a pod of just life, as opposed to just a resting and. It's becoming that's where everybody's doing everything.
Is that something in nature that we find? Do we find this in, is this somehow related? All this want and need, is that somehow related to what we're, what we want as people in a way?
I don't know, man. That's weird.
What is
I don't know
what
if
is
that
the true purpose of just constantly consuming, and then at some point, I mean, you can get your groceries delivered to your door now.
I know.
You literally can survive for years. And they have the Amazon thing. You can order food on Amazon. It's delivered to your door. And I think they have something like that. So and literally, if I didn't want to go outside, if I didn't want to interface with the rest of the world, I could easily survive, because I could easily survive.
Think about that would do with your health. No sunlight, no connection to nature, just bleh, just this blob on the floor.
Somehow evolved
just like some blob with a phone in one hand, just just your eyeballs just looking at it.
Yeah. In a way, is that some kind of
evolutionary
thing? What is... if this is such a growing thing in popularity, is that something...
Slowly over time.
Is that something that we're indeed underlying?
We're just born with an electronical device connected to our hand that just connects to the rest of the world. They install it right where you get
installed
born.
At birth, like ever since this date. That'll be weird. Like
you just look up at your one hand, there's a screen.
I remember when people, like in a weird way, we could probably once say, I remember when people were born,
with whatever device in their hand.
Pre this device.
Yeah. They have a contact lens just has the Apple logo over the pupil.
And people like, what was it like to not have a built-in interface?
Yeah, wanting to disconnect from it. I just gotta disconnect. I gotta disconnect this thing.
Imagine growing up as a child and having that installed, and it constantly being
just imported in your
face. Like you notice it your whole life. Or perhaps
you don't.
Maybe they can turn it on and off.
You don't notice it.
You don't know. It just
because you don't know any different.
It just becomes the norm.
Until you find some internet article where you read that people didn't have that.
Read a book. 200 years ago, there was people who didn't have a keyboard in front of their eyes.
They would probably look at us like primitive apes.
Yeah. Does that make us a different kind of animal at that point?
I don't know.
Or is that us slowly evolving away from what we once were, or we're becoming some kind of different?
Both.
Having different food sources or a different environment does change.
Yeah, I don't know.
In a consistent form. We're all slowly changing, I feel. It's weird. It's weird how some things happen so slow. It makes sense. It makes sense though because
it's amazing. Like,
it makes sense in that way. It's a long chain of,
And we will never know anything else. Either way, just like this is what we know right now.
Yeah.
Like just kind of like we look back on like, thank God I didn't grow up in the 1800s.
Yeah. We don't have that.
People are gonna look back on us like, whew, 2017 was a rough year, man. Thank God.
You had to go outside.
Yeah, you had to go outside. Who wants to go outside?
Last person outside.
Probably can't even go outside at that point because the Earth's gonna be so dank with pollution.
Yeah, there's gonna be one cinder block, or perhaps. This is another weird thing that I kind of always thought about. This kind of going along this, we want to be, lonely and, secluded sometimes, with our technology and we're kind of built around us and everything. What if, we had, there's like the Grand Ole Opry in Nashville, where we're just there and it's just this ecosystem of just, it doesn't rain there, it's just closed.
And you can live in there.
At some point, is it?
There's like little trees.
What if the? I mean, I'm talking. This would probably take a long time. What if we, at some point, we become so built up, or something like that we build layers on our Earth, kind of like a big apartment layer, kind of like. Ship, as a ship, you have A, B, C.
You just look from space and it's just like
it's
a
just
rooftop.
a ball. It's like literally literally the Death Star. Like that's the Earth enclosed.
That's crazy.
And it's like at some point wow I've never seen it outside because I've always been in this little cubicle and this is what I do day to day. And this and that.
I'm just hooked up to my technology. It just jumbo pushes.
You're kind of just.
They had to go out in space and fix the door that leads out.
Yeah. Man, that must imagine. I can't imagine that. I mean, that's
everybody's just like pale and translucent.
Yeah, just constant. They're just working for this big machine. That's what the Earth is, just this big machine.
It just becomes that. You have like their jobs, everybody's job has become running the Earth after it just dies.
Yeah.
Like just to keep their own like ecosystem boom going.
That's a good movie right there.
That is a really good one. That's a strange ass movie, yeah.
That would be
like you don't even find out until like the ending of it.
Until what the
like the camera just shows like outside and it looks like a Death Star that they just like they're living in that.
And then it's weird enough, but if it goes down a certain path, it could be possible. And if a lot of people follow, it could be possible.
That would be interesting.
If you're given certain situations and certain. Yeah,
I'm really hoping to get Night of Thrills made soon too, so that'd be fun.
Yeah.
You miss doing photography for housings?
Not really. Personally.
You said you learned a lot from it.
I did learn a lot. Well,
what did you learn?
Those who
remind me? What did you learn about that?
Well, I mean, for those who don't know, like I used to do real estate photography before I moved to Nashville. it was just something I did for a little bit extra money and experience. But I was working behind a desk all day, doing graphic design, because I was a graphic designer before this. I would just sit down all day, and I like to be active. So I mean, photography just made sense where I could actually feel like learn something, earn a little bit of money, and also move around. Because I feel like I learned a lot because I felt like in a movie making sense, I was kind of like I would go in, and the realtor was the director, and I was the DP. We were kind of just showing the house, like how can we make this? What can we shoot this? How can we shoot this house so people feel like they're there? How do we make it feel like you're actually here looking?
You were also talking about making how do you make a living room look interesting on camera?
And eventually, I quickly learned. The first day, I remember the first time doing it. It was like, okay, this guy's paying me. And I'm like, his money's on the line if I mess up. Yeah. So it was like kind of like at first it would kind of kick my ass a little bit because, I went in there just, okay, let me try. I had no clue. I kind of just did it one day.
Right.
And then I kind of just learned from there. It wasn't something I had to. And the weird thing was, this is something anyone can do. If you have a camera and you really like to, want to learn a little bit something about, interacting with others, and doing something, and gaining a little bit of money. Like I didn't have to show any kind of resume or anything. I basically, I needed a house. My friend Mike Jazerski. He let me. Because he used to work at a hotel, a very grand hotel at the Jersey Shore, and I did a few photos of that. Kind of, I was pretending, okay, like what if someone hired me to photograph this? So I would kind of show that as a portfolio. All I did was print out a few, have a postcard of a few photos that I've taken of like an interior design.
Yeah.
And just put my name in there and just handed them out, and people would just call me. Like anyone can do it. Yeah. Which you didn't have to have any kind of degree or anything. You just do it. But I learned a lot from just kind of. I felt like I was my own. I'm not sure what I guess I felt like I was making my own work in a way, which is kind of cool.
That's awesome.
Kind of. But I learned a lot about, every realtor was different, kind of like every director was different or something like that in a movie aspect. And I quickly learned, like what people, would want to see in a house. Like I would kind of, in a way, each time, like there was a time where halfway through I finally it clicked. I was like, okay, like I'm not photographing the house is photographing itself.
Right.
The house, because I would look through the lens. And if the house wasn't talking back to me, then that wasn't a right shot. I would kind of work myself around like, okay, if I'm looking on the internet and want to see a house, what do I want to see? It's like, what does the house want to be in the frame? And it was kind of, I realized, okay, this is like that yin and yang thing. Or like I was talking to the house and the house is talking back to me, and it wasn't physically talking to me like, oh hey house.
Right, you just feel the vibe.
Yeah, you really, it was as an image energy where it kind of talked in that aspect, and I quickly learned about exposure a little bit more, because on the spot you have to know what exposure,
right?
Because you don't want you're kind of on a time limit, because I would do this before I would show up to work.
Yeah.
And, I would kind of need to be time conscious as well. So I learned a lot about that. These are a lot of these things I learned about. Doing something as just simple as that.
Well, that got out of control.
I didn't mean for it to get out of control.
No, I liked it out of control.
You liked it?
Yeah. Did you like it?
I did.
Cool.
I did.
Awesome. Well, listen, if you guys enjoyed hanging out with us, please subscribe, and don't forget to drop us a review if you digged it. Follow us on @TheWeirdnessPod on Twitter. And if you want to see our videos and stuff like that, we're going to be posted soon. Subscribe to our YouTube, The Weirdness. My name is Brian Target.
And my name is Robert Biddle.
And thank you guys for hanging out with us. See you later.
See you later.